Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is really my privilege to welcome you here this morning at the session of Stimulating Entrepreneurship in Nigeria, the Multipro story. Africa is in dire need of entrepreneurship, of entrepreneurs creating work, and it is heartening to see this kind of initiative from companies from outside of Africa creating jobs and stimulating, as I said, entrepreneurship in countries such as Nigeria, amongst others. Nigeria is not the only one. We also find entrepreneurship being stimulated in East Africa quite in a strong fashion. I don't want to steal too much time. You know the format, those of you who have been here before. We have a 45-minute talk by the speaker. We have 15 minutes of question and answers. And around about 10 o'clock, I will release all of you. Those of you that have been here, thank you so much for your support for this event, this specific series, African Angle. It is, as you would know, every second month we have a session to tell something and to share something about Africa. It is then my privilege to introduce to you our speaker of the morning, Mr. Haris Aswani, who is the Managing Director in Nigeria for the Toleram Group. Haris has been involved with the group since 1984. He's not only the MD for Nigeria, he's also the Honorary Consul General for Singapore in Nigeria. Way back when I came here, I asked my brother, who should I talk to? He says, if you talk to Haris about Nigeria, you don't need actually anybody else, because what he doesn't know is not worth knowing. So we're really privileged to have him. Haris, thank you so much for your willingness to come and share the Multipro story with us, and we look forward to your session. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And thank you for attending my talk. This is my favorite subject. Whenever anybody asks me to talk about Nigeria, I love it, because I spent 28 years living in Nigeria. So I'm always proud to speak about Nigeria, but now we're moving out to a bigger part of Africa. We're not only operating in Nigeria, but we're also operating in Ghana, soon in Egypt, and in South Africa, and then Kenya and Ethiopia. I'm going to tell you the family story about what we did in Nigeria first. And actually it's a Toleram story, but we'll take one part of Toleram, which is Multipro, because Multipro is the company that has grown most rapidly in Nigeria for us. Entrepreneurship was instilled in all our values, and we have the 5 guiding principles with us, which is trust, respect, commitment, courage, and humility. All this we embed in us, not just in our working life, but also in our personal life, in our friendship, and in our role with all our partners, distributors, and all people who work with us. What has this led to? These values that we have, what has it led to us doing? It has allowed us to push our boundaries. It allowed us to move forward and say, where else can we go? So we're not just a Nigerian company now. We operate in 11 countries. Most of it are in Africa at the moment. We are based in Singapore, which is our head office. And we operate in Indonesia, UAE, India, and even in a remote place like Estonia too. But in Africa, we are starting off, we started off in Nigeria. We have operations in Ghana. We're starting South Africa very soon. Like I said, Egypt, and then Kenya and Ethiopia. Tanzania and Togo, Ivory Coast are still in the pipeline, but hopefully 2018 will see us moving up in there. And this is a bit about what the group is all about. We started off in 1948 as Toleram, but we started off basically as a textiles company. So my grandfather started this business as a textile merchant, but over time we evolved. And in 1990, we were actually operating in 28 countries. And we realized that was just too big, too much for us to control. We cut down. In the year 2000, we decided that we need to consolidate all our group companies and see what we can do. And then 2010, we embarked on a plan and said, let's do brand building. Let's change the group in terms of what we want to do, how we want to do, and how we thought. So we had 4 pillars with us in Nigeria. We did the infrastructure, we did fast-moving consumer goods, we did power, we did IT. And while we were in Nigeria in 1985, there was a huge problem. Okay? We started in Nigeria in 1976. But in 1985, there was a huge problem in Nigeria. That was the era of the promissory notes. Nigeria went into a huge debt, faced foreign currency exchange crisis, and government issued to all of us promissory notes. That almost made us bankrupt, but it was a learning lesson. The lesson we learned is stay in the game and keep going. Stay committed to what you're doing there. And Nigeria, in its all fairness, stood by its principles and promised to honor all promissory notes. So whatever they issued to us was eventually paid. Although it was at a discounted rate, but they all paid every bit, including the interest. So we found out there was a problem in Nigeria. People couldn't afford things, right? People couldn't afford to eat meals. So we said, let's do something about this. What are we going to do? We've got to find a solution. And the solution was, we had to bring a product into Nigeria that was affordable to everyone and acceptable to everyone. And what was the product? We created Indomie. We brought Indomie from Indonesia. Why Indomie? Primarily because the family grew in Indonesia. We were all born in Indonesia, so it was a natural product that we knew about. But Indomie and instant noodles were not eaten in Nigeria. People didn't know how to consume noodles. So we actually had to create an eating habit in Nigeria. That was the start of our journey in Nigeria. But along the way, we found there were many challenges, right? The challenges include lack of infrastructure, right? In Nigeria, till today, we struggle to get regular power. Logistics is still a challenge. And in those times, the traditional market setup was very different, right? It's a very unorganized distribution system in Nigeria. And it was based mainly on open markets. Supermarkets really didn't exist in Nigeria. Traders' mentality at the time was basically on price cutting, right? How much money could I make? How big a distributor could I be? And it was basically run by multinationals in those days. And then the collection method was difficult because the banking system didn't allow us to go. It was purely a cash system. So we actually had to carry boxes of cash on our head from the distributor into the bank. There was no electronic fund transfer as you see today. And then relationships had to be built over time, okay? Because there was issues for trust, because people kept coming into Nigeria, going out of Nigeria, then there was no consistency of product in Nigeria. We had to create the trust. And the dominance of trade was basically by multinationals, as I said. And then, what did we do? We decided to create Multipro. Multipro was founded in 1997. The headquarters is based in Lagos. And the main criteria of the business of Multipro is sales and distribution. Our vision is to become the largest fast-moving consumer good company in Nigeria with unsurpassed customer service. We had a very simple formula. We call it the AAA: acceptability, affordability, and availability. This has been embedded in everything that we do in fast-moving consumer goods in Nigeria. The AAA is a very simple methodology that we have created and focused on to do all our business in Nigeria. I hope I'm not too fast. Okay. So we found that logistics was a problem in Nigeria. What do we do? To solve a problem in Nigeria, we say where there's a will, there's a way. And this is actually how Nigerians sometimes travel around Nigeria. But this is to show the ability of Nigerians, right? Despite the circumstances, they would manage with whatever they had in their hands. So we created a company called BHN. BHN is our logistics company. It has a fleet of about 700 trucks. And this was created because we realized that in Nigeria, there was no organized haulage system. So we had to build our own haulage system. Currently, we have 700 trucks, and we are probably the most organized logistics provider in Nigeria today. And we also do logistics business to multinationals, not just to our own company. But going forward, we said, what do we need to do to be successful in Nigeria? It's not just about bringing a product. What do you do with the product? What do you do with your relationships with your traders? What do you do with your salesmen? So we decided to create something different in Nigeria. First of all, we created the van sales. Van sales are not very popular in Nigeria at the time. People didn't invest in van sales. People only invested in distributors. So what they did was, the moment I gave it to the distributor, it is the distributor's job to go and market it. But we created a different system whereby we created our own brand sales. Then we created the three-wheelers. Three-wheelers was actually our first innovative distribution system where we created smaller distribution vehicles that could enter into smaller areas. Because in some parts of Nigeria, roads were very narrow. You couldn't take the big trucks, you couldn't take the big vans. So three-wheelers was something that we innovated in Nigeria. We in fact brought a company from India called Bajaj to come and bring their products to Nigeria and start this. And one of our strong selling points that took the noodle product to a different level was our carrier bag sales. Carrier bag sales are basically young people who go out on the streets carrying bags of Indomie. So instead of carrying cartons of Indomie, they will carry 5 packets of Indomie or 10 packets of Indomie and sell to everyone on the roadside. So as we know in Nigeria, there's a lot of congestion in the traffic, so that was good for us. People would stop in the traffic and we would go and sell them Indomie. And then we also created a very strong sales force to support distributors. Like I said earlier, the method of distributing in Nigeria before us was, you sell to a distributor will always supply. We did things differently. We actually went to the distributors and we supported the distributors by employing salespeople for them. Excuse me. So what we did was, this not only allowed us to increase our sales, but it also allowed us to monitor the sales. Who were they selling to? How much were they selling? What were the flavors that people were looking for? And also to get feedback from the customer. You know, when they came to a shop, what did they ask for? Did they ask for chicken flavor? Did they ask for beef flavor? Did they ask for prawn flavor? So the feedback was very good for us. And then we created food soldiers where we ensured that products availability, display, and merchandising in all the markets were done properly. So we changed the scenario of marketing in Nigeria. We decided we must be a game changer. We can't just sit there and sell the product the old-fashioned way. We have to innovate and create value adds. So on the softer side, there are a few other things that we did. We shared a very good relationship with our distributors. This was very important. We had to build a trust with our distributors, right? So we created what we call the Multipro family. We are the first, probably the first and only company to have an exclusive distributorship agreement with our distributors. What we did was, we got them to sign an agreement with us where they will take no other product but our product. In exchange for that, if they perform to a certain number at the end of the year, there'll be a certain form of reward. And the reward can be quite substantial. In many cases, what we did was we gave them things that we felt were needed, things like generators. Because there was no power in Nigeria, we gave them generators, we gave them fridges, and in some cases, we even gave them distribution vehicles, right, to create the value for them. Now, Nigerians are very emotional, but they're also very entrepreneurial. In my opinion, Nigerians are the most entrepreneurial Africans I have met. Okay? They are all probably the most hardworking I've seen. And you have to bear in mind that in a country where infrastructure is not so good, we in Singapore, when we wake up, you switch on a light, it works. You open a tap, water runs. Put in a coffee machine, it works. In Nigeria, it's not that way. Right? People have to wake up very early in the morning. They start their day at about 4 or 5 in the morning. They have to light a candle, take their own water, bathe their kids, take their kids out to the bus stop, take them to school, and then show up at work. So it's a process of about 3 to 4 hours before they actually come to work. So, and then they work the whole day, and then the same thing repeats when they go home. The same journey goes back. So, despite all the hardship, when you meet a Nigerian, they will always greet you very warmly. They'll always say good morning. In Singapore, when you say good morning to somebody in the lift, they look at you to shock, what are you doing, you know? But that's for me, the Nigerians, you know, they have a kindred spirit in them that is remarkable. So, the softer side, we always look and say, it's not all about business. What do we do with the people? And what do we create? So it has to be a family atmosphere. It's not just about business. It's always a win-win situation with all that we deal with. So we created customer relationship programs. These are some of the things we did. Very simple things, but it made an impact. It made a very big impact of key executives taking our distributors for dinner along with their family. This was not done in Nigeria before. But this was a way of getting to know who we're dealing with, who our distributors are, what are their family about, where are their kids going to school, and what are their needs. Because sometimes we can help. And the only way we can help is when we know what's going on with these families. If we don't know what's going on with these families, then you're actually lost. So we support the family event of distributors in the sense that if someone's getting married, somebody's birthday, child naming ceremony, we take part in it. We also do annual distributors party, and for the key distributors who will perform very well, we take them out for foreign trips with their families. Okay? It's not just the distributors, with their families. So it becomes a family event, and it's always a family team from our side accompanying their family. So it's a very close bonding relationship that we have with our customers. These are some of the things that we do in Nigeria. I want to show you some of the photographs. And these photographs are actually interesting because you don't see it in many places. In Asia, you hardly see what we call town storming. Town storming is an activity where we go to a town, we create a band, we create a carnival, we make a lot of noise, and we go there with 40, 50 vans, branded. We go into a town, we storm it, we create dancing parties, we create music, we do balloons. Look at that, people are dancing all over the place. So with all the products that we do, we try and create an atmosphere that this is what we're all about. We do a lot of retail talking, merchandising, and we pay attention to this. Okay, it's not just about going out there and selling a product, you have to pay attention to this because eye contact is the first contact that you have with the product. If people see the product first, chances are they'll buy the product and they'll ask what the product's all about. We do visibility drive. So in this case, what we generally do is we get to see our distributors displaying our products first. Or are they displaying a competitor's product or another product there? So if our distributors are displaying our products, then they are rewarded for that. So very simple methods, but it's with details, okay? In supermarkets, we try and plaster every supermarket we can. Wherever it is, we occupy the maximum space. And we created what we call the Power Bike program. The Power Bike program basically is getting the young youths employed, giving them a motorbike, and then telling them, go out there and distribute this for us. So based on the number of trips they do, they get rewarded for that. So it's also taking the youth empowerment program to a different level. It's not just about distributing the product, but employing people too. So it's the creation of employment for youths. And in Nigeria, unemployment is reasonably high, so this is one of the programs that we created. And apart from that, we spend a lot of time focused on training. So we do multiple level training. We start with our own people first. We train our own people. What are you selling? Why are you selling? Whom are you selling to? And then educating them all about the product. What is it that you're selling, right? Then we go to the next level where we get our distributors to join us for a training program. So we do it in batches. And the batch program is we get our distributors into a room, talk to them over a half-a-day session so that they understand what they're selling to. It's not just about making the money, but what is the product they're selling? Okay, whom should they target it to, right? And any questions that they have about the product, we try and answer it in this session. This is actually an ongoing program, right? Because as we create new products, we bring in new products, this session keeps going on. And same thing applies to our own people who work for us. We had new employees every year, right? So every time we get new employees, the induction training program is a very critical aspect of this. Then we have the trade appreciation, whereby we reward distributors who do well, right? And we do it across the board. So it's not just the top distributors, but even the smaller distributor will always get something. Like I say, we'll do a distributors party, we'll attend the events, birthdays, weddings. So what has that resulted in? I just want to give you a couple of examples of what we have done there. We took a product called Hypo. Hypo is a bleach product, right? So in terms of numeric distribution, what has happened is that the bleach consumption in houses grew from 2.7% to 27% in the last 4 years. And this has resulted in us having an 89% market share. Okay? Bleach was available before. There's a product called Jig. Those of you who live in Nigeria will know the product called Jig. But today, Hypo is the #1 brand in Nigeria. But all the things that we did before that I described to you has resulted in this. Same thing happened in Indomie. We started Indomie in 1998 as a trading product. We were importing from Indonesia first. And what we looked at is per capita consumption. In 1998, it was 0.2 packs per person per year. In 2016, the number is now 17 packs per person per year. Now, what has Indomie done in Nigeria? It has created a new industry. Because of Indomie, there are now 16 other manufacturers of noodles in Nigeria. And combined, we employ close to 250,000 people directly. Indirectly, the number is about fourfold of that. But directly, because of 16 manufacturers operating in Nigeria. So it's a very competitive environment. It's not just that Indomie is the brand leader and market leaders, but what it has created is a brand new industry that was not there before. So in essence, what we have done is actually taken over the dyeing textile industry. As textiles went down in Nigeria, the food industry, especially the noodle industry, took off in Nigeria. What were our major learnings? We said, look, we're not going to be a multinational. Yeah? Multinationals think very differently, and I'm not trying to degrade multinationals. They have their own ways of doing business. But we looked and said, what's important for us in our products? So we look at the bottom of the pyramid. So if you look at the categories of people that you want to sell to, we look at the D and E categories. Those are the categories that we focus on because those are where the numbers are. The masses are all out there. So if you take in Nigeria, 70 to 80% of the population sits in the D and E category. So serving the bottom of the pyramid is very important. Second thing we did, which I think was very useful for us, is that we decided to control our own destiny. What did we do here? We decided to do backward integration. And our backward integration program includes us putting our own flour mill, putting our own distribution channel, doing our own seasoning, doing our own packaging. So these are the things that we did to control our own destiny. And the reason we did that was we didn't want to depend on any supplier, as Nigeria is a very import-dependent country. Secondly, we ensured that the quality of our product is to what we want. We're not dependent on somebody supplying us raw material that was not good for us. We control that. And then, most importantly, creating value in a situation of mutual win-win. And I explained this to you a little bit earlier where it's not about us making money in the business, it's about everybody down the chain making money. So it's a win-win situation all along the value chain in our business. One of the things that I was asked to talk about was what we do with Best Choice. And Best Choice is actually a retail outlet that we have created. Best Choice started initially in the inception as a shop selling only Indomie products. And we decided that that model did not work. So we decided to sell products of various companies, but the #1 selling product. So if we went to a Coke, we'll take the Coke and the water. If we went to Nestle, we may take the Milo. Went to Cadbury, we'll take something else. But we picked one product from each of the large companies or #1 selling brands of each company and sold it at the shop on a one price basis all over our shops. So we have now created 460 operational shops in Lagos alone. We're the first to do this. And we believe this will be a game changer in Nigeria, right? Because nobody's investing. So only the large supermarkets have come, the ShopRites, the Pick and Pays, and all that have come in. But we believe we have to get to the consumer and give the consumer value. And the value is in the pricing and the product, right? And our aim is that in the next 5 years, by the year 2022, we will have 1,000 operating stores in Lagos alone. This program is currently done only in Lagos, and we decided to focus in Lagos because we don't have control over it. We didn't want to try and do it all over Nigeria. But the plan is to do this pan-Nigeria over time. But this concept is very interesting because we don't run the shops ourselves, right? We give it to the customer. So again, we're creating a partnership, we're creating employment, and in some cases, when people are leaving our organization, as a reward, we tell them to come and run the shop. So we actually pay for the rent, right? And we help them with the working capital to start off this, as we call it, the franchise, to run the Best Choice stores. So then they create more employment. When they start the shops and they are successful, they will create more employment, and it becomes a sustainability for them also. So people don't just leave the organization. And the reasons we did it was because there was no organized trade in this sector. In Singapore, you probably see this with Cheers and 7-Elevens all over the place. But in Nigeria, we don't have 7-Eleven, we don't have Cheers. So we created this, and ensuring that value gets passed on to the consumers. Like I said, it's a one price policy, and we ensure the quality of the products are the best that's available in the market. And our vision is to be the largest and most preferred neighborhood store chain in Nigeria. Like I said, in the next 5 years, the plan is to do 1,000 stores in Lagos alone. Our journey so far, I'll talk to you about what are the things that we have done in terms of brand creation. We started off with Indomie first, and then in 2011 we created Hypo. In 2012 we created Power Pasta. In 2013 we created Power Oil. 2014 we created Mini Meat Chin Chin. Mini Meat Chin Chin is actually a snack food. It's a very local snack food. It's actually a home industry snack food that was done in Nigeria, but we have taken it to a different level now by packaging it and doing it right. Then we did Mini Meat Instant Noodles, and we did Dano Milk. And then 2016 we did a tie-up with Kellogg's and marketing their Kellogg's cereals and Pringles. And eventually we will branch out to new products, which is the Kellogg's noodles, and we will go into detergents products as an extension of our Hypo. So what we have done in Nigeria is moving from a single brand to multiple brands. So there's a saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So we have now created a wider basket in terms of products, and these are the products that we've created in Nigeria so far. And I think we still have quite a long way to go, but this is to tell you the potential of doing business there. Right? From a one brand company, we've now done so many different brands, and this is not just in Nigeria, but we will also do the same thing in Ghana at the moment, and we'll replicate this in other parts of Africa too. Now, all this that we have done has paid off for us. All the hard work that we have done has paid off for us. In 2014, we created a joint venture with Arla. Arla is probably the 5th largest dairy company in the world. So we signed a joint venture with them, and all our joint ventures are 50-50. We don't believe in majorities or neither the partner should have majorities. It should just be a simple 50-50 concept. And we have now created the Dano Milk brand in Nigeria, which is an existing brand, but they came to us and said they would want to partner us. So we are repackaging, we are packaging dairy products at the moment in Nigeria. But what's interesting about Arla is that they now have created a cooperative system whereby they go down to various parts of Nigeria and talk to farmers to do cattle raising, with the hope that once these cattle are raised to a certain level, we can get milk locally too. And they do this program all over the world. So Arla doesn't produce its own milk. It works with cooperatives all over the world. So we're trying to do the similar thing in Nigeria. 2015 was a very big step for us because we tied up with Kellogg's. And in Kellogg's, we have a 50-50 partnership. But the 50-50 partnership is not just in West Africa. They've now agreed to do the walk all over Africa. So in our cereal business and Pringles business, and hopefully the noodle business, the walk will be Pan-Africa for us with Kellogg's. We continue to grow. In 2010, our turnover was 266 million. In 2016, Multipro had a turnover of 662 million. But what's interesting is that if you look at the lower slide, in 2010, we were basically a mono-product business. But in 2016, we become a multiple business product. Okay. These are our key enablers, what we plan to do in our journey going forward between 2017 and 2022. In terms of number of distributors, we currently have 2,621 distributors in Nigeria, but we aim to achieve 5,300 distributors in 2022. And this is a very mapped out, thought out process as to how we'll get to 5,300. It's not a number that we just pluck out from somewhere, but we have a team that actually focuses and says, why will we get to 5,300 and the reasons behind it. So in the products that we do, in the growth that we do, we will need this number of distributors to be successful. In terms of vehicles, we currently have 2,800. Of course, in our logistics business, you saw 700. But in terms of vehicles that we have invested is today 2,800 because our distributors also have their vehicles, which we have paid for. That number will grow to 4,485 by the year 2022. In terms of warehouse space that we currently have, we have 54,000 square meters now, and we eventually will grow to 134,000 square meters, and we will create temperature control warehouses. The reason we're doing this is because we're doing milk, and we're also marketing cheese. Now, Arla joint venture, cheese is one of the products that they do, so that has to be kept in controlled warehouses. In terms of number of staff, this is only Multipro, not the group-wise. But in Multipro, it will grow from 4,600 to 8,700. Currently, the group employs close to 8,500 people in Nigeria alone. Our outlook in terms of our business, in 2016, as I said, Multipro is a $662 million business. In 2022, we expect our turnover to be 1.6 billion in Nigeria alone. But the breakup, as you can see, noodles only form 32% of our total business, but in terms of numbers, of course, it's grown substantially. And these are the other products, which includes milk, pasta, flour, snacks, and 9% is the Ghana business. Moving ahead, next 5 years, we look at our enterprise value. In Nigeria, Multipro and its group of companies currently have an enterprise value of about 2 billion. By 2022, we expect that to be 6.5 billion in terms of enterprise value. How do we take enterprise value? For example, when Kellogg's bought into us, what was the valuation done? So we took that multiple and multiplied it going forward. That's right. So we don't just do business in Nigeria, we also do our CSR, and the social impact that we have is that we've invested about $1.2 million in social initiatives. Very interesting thing is that the picture that you see on the right is the prosthetic limb center that we have. It's called the Ish Limb Center. The number has actually changed. We have now hit 8,000 prosthetic limbs given to Nigerians. This is given free of charge. People walk in there with no limbs. They actually walk out with limbs after some time. And the impact is close to 30,000 families in terms of scholarships and school support initiatives. I'm so sorry. These are numbers in terms of what we have done. On the environmental side, we're now using compressed natural gas for most of our operating units, except where it's not available. But 90% of our factories now actually run on CNG. Right? And we've invested $4 million in renewable technologies, and 90% of our solid waste is reused and recycled in all our factories. And all our factories are audited and assessed with the global food safety standards. Lessons learned about doing business in Nigeria. First thing is stay committed. If you want to do business in Africa, be committed. Don't go there half-hearted. Don't go there saying, I just want to walk around and see things. If you decide to go to Africa, stay committed that you want to stay in Africa. It's not an easy continent, but it's a very rewarding continent. The second thing I'll say is take control of your own destiny. We did that. We decided that in the year 2000, we will take control of our own destiny. So whatever we did it on our own. We made sure that no one else influenced what we did. And in our backward integration program is an example of it, what we did to take control of our own destiny. Third thing is, if you're in Africa, build a strong team. It's very important if you're going out to Africa, you must build a strong team. Your people are your biggest assets. So you have to go out there and build your own strong team. Like I said, we have 9,000 Nigerians employed in our group. That's a strong team. That's what we built there. Next thing is stay focused. right? When we started Indomie, we were bombarded with so many different products. People came and offered us products from all over the world and said, market us, but we refused. Because we saw the potential of where Indomie would go to, from the per capita consumption that I talked about earlier, to where it will be. In the slide that I showed you, the per capita consumption of noodles in Nigeria is 17 packs per person per year. In Indonesia, it's 90 packs per person per year. So the room to grow is actually very high. So stay focused if you're doing business in Nigeria. And lastly, ride the wave, right? Africa has its ups and downs. And as in many countries, whether you do business in Indonesia, India, China, you'll have your ups and downs. Same thing in Africa, it has its ups and downs. We went through a financial crisis last year in Nigeria, but all of us who were there as long-term players rode the wave. We didn't, fell disheartened or, give up hope and all that. Okay, let it go, just ride the wave. So don't be afraid of the bumps that come along. That's the way business is all over the world. So if you are able to ride a wave, you'll be successful in Nigeria. So to end my note, great things never come from comfort zones. You've got to go out there and get it done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, any questions? Please.
Hi, yes, thank you very much for the very insightful sharing. My name is Mark Wong. I'm from Dwayne Morris.
From which company?
Dwayne Morris, and I wanted to know from your experience in terms of consumer behavior in Nigeria. Obviously, you are branching out into the other continents, other states of Africa. Is consumer behavior transferable, as in the lessons learned in Nigeria? Did you find that the transposition of your business model from Nigeria to the other states of sub-Saharan Africa, English-speaking, French-speaking, do you see a certain uniformity in the challenges that you face?
The answer is that about 50% is transferable. But Africa is 50 different countries. Right? So each country has different habits, different cultures, different consumer behaviors. But 50% of what we did in Nigeria is transferable. And we did spend a lot of money on research and development. In our research, consumer behavior research, we spent close to, so far, maybe about $30 million in the last 10 years, just doing consumer research in Nigeria and Ghana. But 50% of that is basically transferable all over Africa.
There was a question over there.
I just want to say inspirational, absolutely what you've done in terms of not only in terms of employment creation, but you've actually done change innovation that transforms societies. And I noticed that you're expanding around the world. So a couple of things. One, do you intend to stay a family kind of owned business or IPO or whatever it is? And secondly, when you go around the world, what are the kind of cross-cultural challenges that you face? Because you're doing Estonia, you're doing Asia, etc. And what do you observe to be the kind of challenges that remain?
I think as far as possible, I want to keep the family business. There's a certain strength in being a family business, but as you can see, we have partnered with major world companies. It's just no more a family business. We've actually evolved to a different thinking family business where it's actually professionalized. As family members, we don't run the business anymore. Professionals run our business. We come and make the noise and collect the dividends, but the business is run by professionals. In terms of our expansion, our focus is still Africa. And in terms of our countries that we are present in terms of Estonia, Indonesia, these are businesses and countries that Indonesia especially is countries that we have inherited businesses there. That's where we started. Estonia was basically an exploratory mission. But my younger brother went out there and loved the country. And Estonia, in many ways, is modeled around Singapore in terms of governance, e-governance, and their thinking and their attitudes. It's very similar to, in fact, I would say in terms of IT, probably Estonia is ahead of Singapore. And we brought them down here when they first got independence to visit Singapore and look at the model of Singapore. They've actually taken the model of Singapore back to Estonia and applied it. I hope that answers.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
When you're dealing with, for example, Kellogg's or Arla, do you initially start importing their products and then begin manufacturing? What's kind of the transition from taking a product overseas and localizing it in that respect?
Yes, we did. We started by importing first. In both cases, we started by importing first. The transition period is 2 years from the time we started importing to building our plants. And when we go into these joint ventures, we have the aim of manufacturing locally. We don't want to be an import company. We're not a trading company. So our skills and our strengths are in manufacturing, and we believe in adding value locally. So the transition period is about 2 years in each of our joint ventures.
Well, I'm Nigerian and I totally can.
Brother.
I know that when we go out, some of us even carry our Indomie along, because it's actually called, we don't even know it's called noodles, we just call it Indomie. So you get somewhere and say, we're expecting Indomie. But I think for other people that are not concerned with Nigeria, the major concern is always how did you, because I didn't see in one of your challenges, deal with regulatory, government regulations, etc. In coming for these meetings and talking with people, that seems to be their main concern. News about how difficult it is to get approvals, NAFDAC, etc. Rumors, remember when we thought it was killing us and all of that. So how did you overcome those challenges, and what message you have for people who are such fear?
Sure. I think the only way to deal with government is to be transparent. We found that despite the challenges in Nigeria, the best way to deal with it is to be transparent in your dealings. And after a while, people come around, right? And if you are transparent in how you do things and they get it, then they know that this is the way you operate. So our methodology in doing business in Nigeria in terms of regulatory agencies, we just be very transparent. This is what we're doing and this is how we go about doing it, even if it takes time. In our Kellogg's joint venture, I think we're still having some regulatory issues. I think it's taken us about 4 months. We're still not through yet, but we have a gap of 6 months. We timed it. We told Kellogg's it's not something we can do speedily, despite us being in Nigeria for the last 40 years, but this process will take 6 months. So we plan ahead with that, but we follow step by step. And also we've learned that in doing partnerships with Arla and Kellogg's, the systems are different. The way they do business is different. So we try and follow and learn from the guidelines too, as to how they do things, the regulatory agencies. So we do it very transparently.
I have a question. Kellogg distributes in South Africa via the big food retail companies, Pick n Pay, ShopRite, you mentioned that. However, in Nigeria, they bought 50% of Multipro. What did they buy? Other than ownership, obviously. But why did they go that route and not the route that they would have had in South Africa, for instance?
Well, they went for good business. I think what they saw was strength in us. They saw that our methodology of doing business was different, and we were successful. You have to understand that the Indomie story is actually a classic story in terms of what we did with that product. Like you said, people don't call it instant noodles, then people call it Indomie. And when they came to see us, they saw how rapidly we grew as a business. And we in fact took steps to go for an IPO with our noodle business, and we were actually given a very substantial valuation. But when Kellogg's came along, they saw that this is a very interesting company, and we had by then multiple products. So we were not just a one product company, but our strength was really in the way we were distributing our products. Right? And to top it off, they saw that the way we did our manufacturing was actually world-class standards. I'm proud to say that the noodle plant that we have in Kaduna, which is right in the center of Nigeria, is probably the most modern noodle plant in the world outside of Japan. It's the first automated plant, fully automated plant in instant noodles outside of Japan. So the story is this, very interesting, because when we first went to buy the machine from Japan, the manufacturer refused to sell us the machine. He said, there's no way in Nigeria can you run an automated machine. So I sent the manufacturer a ticket. I said, come to Nigeria, come and meet us and talk to us here and see what Nigeria is all about. He came and saw how we ran our existing plants, then he got convinced. So he said, okay, I'll try one noodle plant with you. It's an expensive plant, it's about a $4 to $5 million machine cost at the time. He said, I'll only try one noodle plant with you. We now have 4 plants. So it's about how you do business there, the way you do business. So Kellogg saw that when they came to see us in Nigeria.
Also Nigeria, of course. Would you say that the insights you gain from the northern part of the country is completely different from what you gain in Lagos, for example?
Yes,
Could you share some of that?
culturally it's different. Taste-wise, consumer patterns are different. Northerners have a sweeter tooth compared to Lagosians. Lagosians like the spicy product. And accessibility to meet people in the north is a bit more difficult. In the south, we could go and meet everyone. In the southwest, your distributors will be ladies. In the north, you don't see any lady distributors. Right? You in fact can't even go to the home of the northerners to meet any female or ladies to discuss. You actually have to send a female crew to the house to meet them, talk to them, to get consumer insights. So it's a very different culture.
I was trying to get at the last mile strategy or the last mile approach that you use in. So in the other parts, you talked about the bike riders and stuff like that. I was wondering whether that applies in the northern part as well.
Yeah, that's actually pan-Nigerian. What we're doing in terms of last mile is actually pan-Nigerian. We're doing all over there. In fact, we still distribute in a place like Maiduguri, which nobody wants to go to because of the Boko Haram issue, but we're still there.
Final chance, ladies and gentlemen.
So in a country as big as Nigeria, how do you actually monitor sales all over the country? So you've got, center of the country which is very, got a good infrastructure for handling computers and softwares, but in areas where electricity, internet connectivity is very scarce, how do you actually monitor the growth?
I think we have to thank the phone companies for coming to Nigeria to create the mobile phones. But we have a very strong ERP system that we have installed in Nigeria, and it's not only linked to Nigeria, but it's also linked to our head office here in Singapore. So we actually see our sales in Nigeria online here also in Nigeria. So it's about investing in the ERP system. We have actually put a lot of money behind this and created programs and work with people like SAP and Bain to create a module that works for us. So we're actually online, and it's possible there. It's not a backward country, it's very possible there.
I'm from Rwanda. If you look at the photo, you see that the children are quite healthy, so it is a good thing. But I'm asking, your industry is growing. If you compare it with the normal, the traditional way of cultivating like bananas and eating the normal, how is it? Are the people abandoning their traditional way of your cultivating and buying your things, or is it going there together? I don't know if you understand my...
I get it. I think it's a mixed thing. Bear in mind that Nigeria went through a transformation. Right? With the oil boom, the agriculture was actually neglected. So for a long time, agriculture wasn't a focus in Nigeria, although it's coming back now again. And we are beginning to see the same products that you talk about. We call it plantain, and the banana chips and banana products. Plantain is actually now being sold in different ways in Nigeria. It's no more the traditional ways. It's now being packaged. People are packaging it and selling it to consumers. Potatoes, people are making chips out of it. We intend to do it. Now, Pringles product, we actually are going to be using potatoes, hopefully made in Nigeria, But the consumer is still very much in tune in using the local products still. So yam is still widely eaten in Nigeria. It's still a staple there. So that hasn't changed. But probably we would have taken market share of things like rice. So rice, as it becomes more expensive, noodles has taken over that as a more affordable meal. I mean, still at 25 cents. There's very few meals you can get at 25 cents. So our selling price is still 25 cents there. So probably it's taken over rice more than the local products.
But you still do pasta locally with wheat, etc.
Yeah. Pasta has traditionally been in Nigeria for many years. I mean, before we got to Nigeria, pasta was probably one of the more regular imported products in Nigeria. But what we changed was we manufactured it.
Exactly, locally.
Hindustan Lever has had to design products for the bottom of the pyramid and adapt it. So like soaps and salt and all that for a certain category. Have you had to adapt any of your products specifically to sell to the itinerant poor, so to speak?
All our products, yeah. Actually, we did for all our products. Maybe I didn't get a chance to show you earlier, but whether it's our bleach, we create sachets, our oil, we create single-use sachets. Noodles, we still do the basic 70 grams, which is a very basic product. So that's across the board for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a chance for one more question. Going once.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been actually my great pleasure to be the Singapore High Commissioner for the last 9 years. And with that job came the great pleasure of knowing Harish and also the Tolaram Group as a whole. What you have seen is a remarkable story of entrepreneurship, staying power, and knowing what to do right. I think the values that they have showed in the first slide, I think is their really their family's sort of road to success. Their humility is unprecedented. The chairman of the company is a remarkable man, very philanthropic and very humble. I think that all the family members of Tolaram have been very humble. It has been actually my great privilege to have visited the 2 milestone events of Tolaram. First has been the, as Harish mentioned, the opening of the Kaduna facility. It's an amazing facility. You could never imagine such a facility in the northern part of Nigeria. And better still, in the Boko Haram area. You know, his factory has never been harmed. In fact, he feeds all the people in Kaduna, so his factory is very safe because they need his Indomie. Amazing. So the CSR part of the work that they do is actually the essence of their success in Nigeria and maybe in Africa too. The other milestone event that I had the pleasure to attend was their conclusion and signing of the agreement with Kellogg's. It was truly an achievement for this company. They worked very hard. It is not that they reaped success in a year or two. It took them a long time, as you saw in the slides. The journey was very long. But when they reached there, I think they truly achieved what they had worked for. Believed in the story of Africa, particularly Nigeria. And I am not sure if Harish will allow me to say this, but you know, the company was worth or valued at $1 billion by Kellogg. So you can understand the kind of value creation they created for themselves. You heard their story about the CSR work. This is the real, actually, the hallmark of good engagement in Africa. I always felt that there are two models in engaging in Africa. One is the Chinese model. You go into Africa, do quid pro quo, build up everything, no transfer of technology, and they walk away. And we all have heard the backlash that has taken place. The other, I call it, in a very broad terms, the Indian way of doing business in Africa, where you go in, you not only bring in the technology, you transfer, you help in the CSR, you build roads, you build hospitals, and I think you become part of the community. And that is very important. Tolaram became part of the community in Nigeria. And that is something to be proud of. For us in Singapore, Tolaram has become our poster company, the way to go and do business in Africa. And I think all of you in the room can use a lot of learning points in the slides there. Very, very critical, because when I speak, or have been asked to speak on Africa, I normally use similar kind of points that Harish made in his slide. So it is I hope it is a wonderful session this morning, because you can never get this anywhere else. I think no economic agency can teach you, no university can teach you. It's only real, true life, real-time knowledge and experiences of this will help you get through your journey to Africa. I think we all know the cliched description of Africa, hopeless continent. Then it became the hopeful continent. And now they say it's an aspiring continent. So I think Harish's story is aspiring. This is what is going to happen in Africa. In my 9 years, it's taken a long journey to persuade everybody to look at Africa more seriously. And I'm glad. Harish, your story will be the template, so to speak, of how to do business in Africa. I think we have several business missions now going to Africa. Please join in that trips, because you can. And if you go to Nigeria, I think there's one coming up for Nigeria in July. Am I right? And please go. I think Senior Minister of State Dr. Koh Poh Koon is going. He's going to actually he wants to take a food-based business mission, because food industry is a low-hanging fruit in Africa. I think Harish will testify to that, very easy entry, you know. And we have so many food manufacturers here in Singapore, from biscuits to eatable products. I think it's fantastic. You can go and do that. And more importantly, Africans believe in Singaporeans. Your red passport is your key. They know we will deliver because they have heard about our Singapore story, so they believe very strongly we will deliver. And I think this is to our advantage. So make use of that. You know. Finally, I must like to say that my term as High Commissioner to Nigeria ends in 2 days. I see a lot of familiar faces, so I'd like to thank everybody for your support, particularly to Harish. And I hope you will give continued support to the next High Commissioner who will be appointed very soon. So thank you very much, and have a very good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, my commitment is to more or less end of this time. Thank you for your support this morning. Thank you for your attendance. And I look forward to seeing you at our next meeting towards the end of July. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you very much.